Greetings and salutations everyone, Crimson Nero here, and welcome back to Let's Play Sonic Heroes. In the last episode, we started off the game with Team Sonic and managed to get through the first two zones. In this episode, we're going to be starting off Zone 3, the casino levels, starting off with Casino Park.
Feeling lucky?
Sonic, we only have 24 hours left.
Okay, let's go.
This entire city is like a giant casino.
So this entire set of zones, this collection of acts, levels, zones, whatever. This zone, the casino zone, harkens back to a lot of old Sonic games, considering that there are tons of different casino levels throughout, like Sonic 2, Sonic 3. There's Casinopolis and Sonic Adventure. Sega likes their gambling levels. Okay, I get it. But at the same time, this is probably one of the ones that has the probably least effective physics. Because the thing is, Sonic Heroes in terms of physics is designed in a way where, like, everything works. Yes, there's not a point where things don't work. I get it. It's fine. The game is playable. Good. That's what we want. But at the same time, whenever we get to the pinball sections, like we are currently on right now, this is the part where the game just decides, no, physics don't work that way, even though they should. Because the way that the game is designed, it does the three-person team mechanics just fine. All right, good. However, this game was not designed to be a pinball simulator, and nor should it. Especially because it's only a mechanic that only lasts for the entirety of 2 levels. The actual gimmicks or mechanics for the pinball don't really work as effectively as we would want them to. Sometimes it's hard to control where the ball is going. Sometimes it's a little hard to move your characters in ball form. As well as hitting the flippers doesn't necessarily give you the kind of response that you would expect. Like, just because you hit it with the flipper does not mean that it's going to rocket off super fast or anything. But yeah, I feel like this is the point where the stages start to overstay their welcome, or like at least like not the stages themselves, but at least like their design in terms of length. Like Sonic Heroes was designed so that it basically had different chunks to the level design, and so basically they would just reuse chunks, or at least like use them and expand upon them for teams like Team Sonic, Team Dark, and Team Chaotix, because those are the longer levels. Those are the ones that are going to be a little bit more difficult. And the thing is that, like, we'll see when we play as Team Rose, you'll start to see that Team Rose has like the best balance of everything. The difficulty is not too hard, good, but it also doesn't the levels themselves don't overstay their welcome like they do with pretty much every other team, and that's saying something when only 1/3 of your game is the part where people really kind of like enjoy it. Well, I shouldn't say that, but when a fourth of your game is not the proper length, or at least like designed the right way, it's kind of a bother. At least with Team Sonic, like these levels, like they're not that bad, but still, like we're gonna start to see that levels are starting to become as long as, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-minute long levels, and they only get longer from here. Cause like, remember back in like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, those levels only lasted anywhere between like maybe 1 minute and possibly like 3.5 minutes. They went by really quickly. There was always new stuff to show, and any mechanics that were brought over were main mechanics that each character had to do, such as the light speed dash. Okay, you had to use it multiple times, but at least every time you used it, it was in a different area in a different setup. Sometimes it would be in the middle of the air with enemies around, so you would have to homing attack to get across the enemies just to get to the Trail of Rings and then proceed. That's okay. We want that. because it's a different environment altogether, and also you can use those mechanics in different ways to set up new and interesting level design. Whereas in Sonic Heroes, yes, you do have those moments, but they're too far between, because a lot of what I was talking about before is just that reusing of assets to create longer level chunks, and those chunks really just repeat themselves and only in some of the later like Team Sonic levels and pretty much all the Team Dark levels, and even some Team Chaotix levels, for example. But really, it's just a matter of good game design and level length, as well as mechanics either being a main mechanic and staying the whole time, or being a mechanic that either is used effectively and doesn't stay too long, or it becomes too long and is not used as effectively as it should. I know I repeated myself a lot in that little, not really rant, but just analysis. But hey, it's a mechanic that we'll be seeing. This is a mechanic and also a level, and this is also a couple of levels that we will see twice. 4 different times throughout the Let's Play. So I might as well start. I'm starting to analyze things, and whatever I don't cover in the earlier parts, I can at least remind myself to talk about them later on.
Not bad.
My thoughts exactly. Alright, now we get to stage 2, Bingo Highway. This is where the game starts to jump up in difficulty just a little bit, and the thing is, it harkens on the difficult parts of the stage really only just come down to the pinball mechanic, like I've mentioned before throughout all of Casino Park. It really only just comes down to the control, and when control is a big factor in games, I mean literally it's the gameplay, then it's a big thing, just in general. Like, a game, so one of my professors told me, and this just reigns true just in general, if a game looks bad, but plays great, then that's totally fine. But if a game looks great, like, in terms of, like, physical fidelity with textures and models and stuff, but it plays terribly, that's a problem. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because, okay, Sonic Heroes is not a bad-looking game. It looks pretty nice. It captures the aesthetic of Sonic quite nicely. However, there are problems with the gameplay and the control. Mainly only in certain elements, such as the casino levels, but like I've said before, it's just kind of a thing. But the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because recently, a game that I've been waiting for a very long time just released. And a lot of people were saying that, hey, this is a great game. And it is. It's a fantastic game. But a lot of people who were not quite as familiar with the franchise, when they see it, when they saw the stiff animation and they were thrown off. They said, oh, this game is bad because it doesn't look good. And the game I'm talking about specifically is called Zero Time Dilemma, the third installment in the Zero Escape franchise. This is a game series that I absolutely love. And the thing is that if you are interested in that series, first off, you need to know about it in terms of the ins and outs of how it was designed, as well as the story. In terms of the story, play them in the right order. Play them 999, then Virtue's Last Reward, and then finish off the series with Zero Time Dilemma, which just came out. Also, when it comes to Zero Time Dilemma, when people were saying, "Oh, the animations look stiff. I don't like how it looks," the thing is that with the development team for those games, the developers did not get that big of a budget. Therefore, they needed to go with what they had. And that's the thing, is that people are very innovative and inventive when it comes to where their shortcomings fall. Sometimes we like to cover that stuff up, and sometimes we just make it hide away from everyone until it just kind of appears and everyone knows about what our shortcomings are. Some people embrace them, which is the proper thing to do. In the case of let's take Bayonetta for example. So Bayonetta had a little bit of difficulty during its development cycle, and because of this, the way that they played out some of the cutscenes, it seemed like film reels, and you would see like different parts of like the animation that would play out. In a lot of games, you would expect like an entire cutscene to play, but in Bayonetta, they didn't have enough money to actually like spend all that time working on, or either they didn't have enough resources in terms of money or time, maybe both, maybe even workers, I'm not sure, but anyways, they used their shortcomings of not having enough resources to make complete cutscenes, and what they did instead was that they created a visual style that was interesting that carried over between both games. And honestly, I think it was I think that the way that they did it was a great job, because yeah, they had shortcomings, but they dealt with it in an effective way that allowed the game to be completed, as well as it gave it its own visual style. I'm okay with that. Some people aren't, but I mean, hey, trust me, from a developer's standpoint, or at least future developer, if you have a deadline, you got to keep it. And yes, I understand that some developers, they say like, oh, our game's going to be delayed for 3 more months, or a year, or like 2 years, maybe even more. Yes, sometimes that happens. At other times, and sometimes that's not, and that just isn't the case. Sometimes you just, even though it's on your game isn't complete, or like a certain segment isn't as you want it to be, you just gotta bite the bullet and just go with it. And if you can cover up for mistakes and make it interesting while doing so, then more power to you. You're doing a good job. Because trust me, making games it's a difficult thing. Just because you play a lot of video games doesn't mean that you know what what proper design is, nor do you know, like, oh hey, I'm gonna be running a Kickstarter for a game. Just because you're a game designer doesn't mean that you know how to do the business side of a Kickstarter, or just because you know how to do one part of the game design process doesn't mean that you can effectively communicate with the rest of your team. It's a very complicated field that I feel like a lot of people just take for granted. And for those people who say, oh hey, I'm really into game design, just because they are doesn't mean that they'll make good games. And you could probably say, oh hey, Nero, you're talking a lot about game design, and your games might not be the best in the future. I hope my games are good in the future. I'm going to try my best, but just it's a very difficult thing to talk about and to really understand. So yeah, game design is really important to me. It's what I'm doing with my life, and just there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the games industry, both good and bad, that we just need to deal with as designers, and that's just what it comes down to. And when consumers are playing the games, it's not just a fact of, oh hey, the game didn't sell well, or oh hey, the game looks a certain way, or it received this rating on Metacritic or IGN. It doesn't matter about some of that stuff. Yes, at the end of the day, game developers do work for companies, and companies do need to get money. But, like, just the games industry is just a very big, complicated thing, and not a whole lot of people realize every single in and out of it. I don't even understand all the ins and outs of it yet, and I'm about to enter it, but that's because there are people who do certain things. Like, some people are just better designers, so they'll be like, hey, I'm going to be working on designing our mechanics, or I'm going to be working on our concept art, or I'm going to be the producer. They have their own specific roles, and that's what they do. And their jobs are very different in comparison to people like the composer, or the CEOs of a company. People who do vastly different things, and yet everyone's kind of involved in terms of communication and properly talking about stuff. I know I've been talking a lot about game design and just complicated things that are kind of over all of our heads, but yeah, I should actually probably go back to talking about Sonic Heroes, considering the level is almost done and we're almost done with this part. But yeah, I know I've gotten very analytical with this part especially, as well as over some of my past few videos involving things like Pokemon and especially Sonic Heroes, but just like I said, this is very important stuff to me, and I want to share some of my knowledge with you guys, because hey, we're all learning from the day we're born to the day we're gone. We're all learning and trying to improve ourselves, and if we can learn just a little bit more every day about something that we're not aware of, then by all means, let's try doing that.
Perfect.
Hey, I got a pretty good grade there. I can't complain. I mean, hey, I got the best grade possible. Awesome. Was not actually expecting an A rank on that one, but okay.
Eggman.
And I am the Eggman, Cuckoo Choo!
While you can. After all, you only have one game, and we know who's going to win. Get there.
Alright, and here is the third type of boss fights. The Horde, well, I'm gonna call the Horde Rush, or the Mook Rush, or the Endurance Battles, I guess. So basically, Eggman's just gonna fly around this little arena, and he's gonna taunt us the whole time while summoning tons and tons of enemies. Basically, all you have to do is just beat all the enemies and survive. That's it. Now, things will be easy at the start, but progressively, you'll start to see more complex enemy patterns, as well as tougher enemies with different attributes assigned to each one in terms of both AI as well as gimmicks and stuff like that. Now, basically what you want to focus on is A, staying alive, but also B, you want to make sure that you're getting as many level up cores as possible. Also, soon enough, once things get a little crazy, then I'll start to show off a little bonus that is that's in the GameCube version. Basically, when you're in flight formation, you can hit A and Y at the same time, and that will start. And if you do it correctly, then the flight character will start to will kind of ascend up into the air and kind of like shield themselves in a little ball of electricity. And when they do, they will they'll actually boost up the Team Blast gauge quite a bit, about like maybe a quarter or so every time you do it. And that's very helpful, especially in things like the endurance battles as well as later stages where there are tons of enemies. Now, based on like everything you do in Sonic Heroes does help build the Team Blast meter, but it is just important to kind of keep that keep that in mind. I didn't know about it when I first played through the game, but now that but ever since I learned about it years ago, it's really just the main way I play. And like, hey, the game gave me a glitch. I'm using it. Does that mean that I'm a bad gamer? No. It just means that we can get through this a little bit more quickly. Yeah, you might think that getting power is probably one of the best things to do in this in these types of battles, and it is a good idea. But honestly, flight characters are pretty darn strong when they get to level 3. Heck, even level 2 is pretty good, especially because you can the shots themselves, they paralyze enemies. Well, most enemies. Bosses are a little bit of a special case, but they paralyze enemies. They do a good amount of damage, and also you can move the shot around. And in some cases, you can just rack up the damage just by moving around the control stick while in flight formation. There's the second use of the Team Blast I was talking about. Oh no, my shield! I think we're getting close to the end here.
What's the matter? Got nothing left?
Keep 'em coming.
Just warming up.
Alright, this is it. So these gold guys right here, if you defeat them, you basically defeat the entire squad. So make sure you head for the gold enemies.
Don't get too excited, boys. Those were the easy ones.
Alright, and we survived!
All right.
But that'll leave us, that'll end off this part of Let's Play Sonic Heroes. I'm Crimson Nero, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, everyone, fare thee well.
What a waste.